Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here today, and I'm honoured to be amongst a group of such cool professionals. Lots of you have met online, and I've now had the pleasure to meet you in person. So we're looking at creating systems inside your business, but why do we want to do that in our industry? Well, we want to create freedom. But why systemize? How are we going to get there? One of the main reasons to systemize is because we want to maximize. What do we want to maximize? Well, first of all, we want to maximize our time so that we are maximizing the time spent within our businesses, on our businesses, rather than doing the daily repetitive tasks. So we want to maximize our time. We want to monetize, of course we do. That's the key issue within our businesses. That's why we're here, as well as, of course, to provide a great service. But we want to monetize so that we can focus on our marketing, our guest experience, and our follow-up of past guests. And we also want to minimize. What we want to minimize is our costs. We want to minimize our repetitive tasks. We want to minimize retraining. And we want to minimize overwhelm. Because there's every day we can start to feel overwhelmed if these systems aren't in place. So again, we want to build a sustainable, scalable, future-proof holiday-let business. A reason to have systems in place is so that everything is working step by step. It's not all in your head, and it's all there in a process that either you or someone else can follow. So that allows you to have a business that brings you income for now. You can systemize it and sell, if that's what you decide to do. Businesses which are already systemized are well known to sell for more money than businesses that are not systemized. So you could systemize and sell. You can create a foundation once these systems are in place on which to grow and scale. Because once you have everything in place for one property, then you can have it in place for all properties. You can leave as a legacy because, again, the systems are there. You can pass the business on. And then you know that whoever picks it up is able to follow it exactly the way that you planned. Or you can just operate it remotely from a beach. Just leave everybody else to run it because the systems are there. So today we're going to look at 3 key systems inside any holiday-let business. And whether they are written down as a system, whether you realize they're a system, these are processes that just happen within any holiday-let business. But first, I just want to say a little bit about who I am. I'm Elaine, and I'm a mum, and I live in Worcestershire in the UK. For anybody who doesn't know the UK very much, that's straight up to Birmingham and left. So, like it says here, a few years ago I started a holiday-let business, and I really had no idea what I was doing when I got going. And I thought, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so what I'm also going to do is start an agency. I'm going to do that as well. And yeah, I was getting nervous at that stage, but I did have some backing. But pretty quickly, this is exactly how I started to feel. I was all over the place, I didn't have systems in place, I wasn't sure what I was doing from day to day, I was just stumbling along and finding my way. So that was the time when I knew I had to do something. And so I sat down and I started to learn. I started to learn online, I started to learn marketing, and I referred back to what I've done in the past from businesses that I used to work in. I have a background in a lot of hospitality, So I've worked in pubs, I've done waitressing, I did a lot of sales. I also worked in my family's accountancy practice, and the basis of that business was systems. Every single thing, as you can imagine, within an accountancy firm, it has to work step by step so that nothing can get missed. And that's when I started to realise I could actually apply this to my own business within the holiday let industry. And I knew then that I couldn't possibly go wrong once these were in place. But all that learning led me to launch the Holiday Let Success podcast. And I knew that I had to do it because it gave me the opportunity to speak to just incredible people that already knew what they were doing in the industry, so that helped me. And I also knew that if I was struggling with this area, then definitely other holiday homeowners were going to be struggling too. And then I went on to write a book, and others are on the way. And I also have the opportunity to work with some incredible holiday homeowners around the world, and I now help them build their websites, get their foundations up and running, and start to systemize. Now, I've stumbled along, but the reason that I kept going and how I got to the systemized situation is that I wasn't afraid to ask, to always listen and to learn. And I think that's what we've got from a lot of the sessions and us all getting together today, is that we really can all work together. We can help one another. And even when I was afraid to ask, and I'm afraid to look silly, I still asked anyway. And I think we can all do that and support each other in the industry. So those experiences that I learned from others in this incredible industry allowed me not to fail, to not crash, and to not burn. So it's a huge pleasure to be involved and surrounded by so many interesting people. Now, it's not to say I haven't landed flat on my face on many occasions when I clearly didn't have a clue what I was doing at the beginning. But now I feel like I'm starting to get there. I wouldn't say I've got all the answers, but I do feel like I'm starting to make a difference. And has anybody heard of Michael Gerber, the E-Myth? He's a great author, and he was the basis on which that accountancy firm that I worked for built their systems. And Michael Gerber says, let systems run the business and people run the systems. And he is a great advocate of building systems. So if you've got a pen and a paper, which I know you will have, write down the E-Myth. I would definitely definitely read it. He's a fantastic author, and it really puts into perspective why it's so important to systemize a business. So the first system we're going to have a quick look at today, is inquiries. We all have inquiries in our business. That's what we do this for. We want guests coming through the door, and we want to chat to them when they first come in. Unless they've booked direct, we've got the inquiry. So what do we want from an inquiry? What do we want to happen during that inquiry? And that's what we need to look at first when we're systemizing. So we need to give an incredible guest experience. We need to stand out from the crowd. We need to give a fast response. Everybody in the room has got an iPhone, a laptop. We're all connected all the time. And we know as we're starting to use this technology and we've got it at hand, we all expect an immediate response. We can shop 24 hours online. To give an example, we can book 24 hours online, and guests do expect an immediate and fast response. So that's a key area for us to deliver. That is information that is delivered. We need to collect money, we need to collect ID, and we need a signed contract. So in essence, that's what we want from an inquiry, a system for an inquiry. So this one scares the life out of me, this one. This is how I used to feel at the beginning. You've got inquiries coming in, you've got to check calendars over here, you've got to connect everything, you've got to double check that everything is running at the right time and nobody's double booking. We're getting in there quickly, and then we've got to get off the back of all of this, after I've checked all of that bit, I've got to get out the thank you for the inquiry. I've then got to confirm the dates. I've got to get the contract signed and the ID collected. I've got to get information to my housekeeping team, payment collected, and then get the guests through the door. So they need the information on which is going to get them through into our property. So how did I start looking at the process? Simply to start writing a system and a process, all you need to do is write down exactly what it is that you do. Take a pad with you for a week and start to write down every step you take. So let's have a look at a process. Step 1, booking pings through. Write that down. Number 2, we send out a thank you email or a confirmation email. 3, request payment. 4, contract and ID request. 5, guest signs the contract and sends it back. Housekeeping team booked. Directions to property and key collection shared. Now, at the moment, when you first get going, you've written that down as a process. You know those are the steps that need to be taken. Now that you know what steps you have to take every single time, and it's on paper, so it's out of your head, which frees up mental bandwidth to focus on other areas of your business, you can then start to take these different steps and do something else with them. So rather than spending what used to be about 45 minutes for me doing that horrible first, all these steps back on the previous slide, where everything was flying everywhere, I wasn't organised, I didn't know where my inquiries were coming from, there was no central location for my emails, and it was taking me 45 minutes to deal with one inquiry. So we want to then reduce the time spent taking these steps. Oh, and number 8, any inquiries off the back of that, we need to look at those too. So why don't we have a look at doing something like this with those steps? So what about automating when the booking pings through? That handles the 24-hour immediate response that guests expect. Now, not only do guests expect that, but if we're using a listing site, the different algorithms that the different listing sites have in place means that the speed at which you respond is actually taken into account for where you show up in the search results on that particular listing site. So it's vital we get information out quickly. So an automatic response there can save us, first of all, having to constantly check our phones, constantly check our emails, and you know the guest is cared for, and you know that your space on that listing site is also looked after. What about then automating the thank you and confirmation email? Your calendars have already talked in the background, you've got your channel manager set up. Why not automate that response so that the guest immediately knows if the dates are available? That's the answer that they're looking for as quickly as possible. The sooner you get that information to them, the higher chance there is of you taking that and accepting it as a full booking. Because whilst they're waiting for your response, they're still scrolling on their phone, looking at all the other places that are available in your area. So that's another great reason to automate there. Request payment, you're going to have to step into the business at some stage and do something manually. So at this point, we need to request payment. There's going to be invoicing involved, and that takes steps. But in the future, why not look at delegating? You've got that marked as something you can look at. It's got to be done. Contract ID and request. As soon as the payment's received, have that. Knock in an automatic response, which sends out the contract and asks for ID. So you can start to see you're reducing your time here. The guest signs the contract and sends it back. We are going to have to step in at that stage, but let's automate a response. Thank you for sending that back. You've dealt with the immediate response. Housekeeping team booked. Text message straight out to the housekeeping team, advising them that booking is confirmed, that's the date these guests will check out, start getting everything ready for that particular date, get it in your diary. It's another place you've saved yourself some time. Directions to the property and key collection shared, again, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, however you deliver your information, depending on really where you are, how far guests are travelling, you can automate the information getting sent over to your guests so that they can arrive in a perfect timing, knowing exactly what they've got to do, contact details for you if they need you during the arrival stage. That can be automated as well. And then any queries that need answering, why not look at delegating? But what underpins this and is the next step is that queries that need answering, there's only so many queries really that we get. So if we also spend time writing down the queries that we usually have, then we can template those responses. So we're reducing the amount of time again in our business. So a guest asked where a particular 3 places that they could eat are. You can then go ahead and send out the template which advises 3 great places to eat. Or where's the local beach? Information can be sent because you might have already sent that out, but guests don't always read. So that's where your queries come in. So far, I would say from automating those responses, we've gone from about 45 minutes responding to your first enquiry down to, you probably saved yourself about 25 minutes there, plus a lot of mental bandwidth, plus you're not constantly looking at your phone. And you can then start to time block half an hour in the morning, double checking who's coming in, who's going out, 30 minutes again at the end of the day to check all those responses have gone out, respond to any queries. So why Systemize, apart from the time reduction? We want to record permanently online, so what do we do next? We've written it down, we've highlighted where we can actually make the time savings and reduce our time on these repetitive tasks. We then want to get that stored into a system online, and you can assign online to staff members, or you can assign it to yourself if you're working alone. Assign it to yourself, you know then that you can't possibly miss anything. As I mentioned, the templates. Templates are a great way to make sure that every guest query is solved within a template. It can still be personal. You can still add a nice touch. It'll still have their name on it. It'll be a nicely written response, but it's templated. So again, you're saving yourself time, tap, tap, tapping away, thinking about and rejigging all the information which you've given out 23 times before this week. And the time blocking. Only answer queries once a day. So you've automated all the responses in the morning, you know everybody's had an immediate response. Time block your day so that then you are only spending a short amount of time actually responding to those queries. You're then just going to a bank of templates and you're still personalizing that interaction with your guest. Delegation. It might not be something you've ever thought of, depending on where you are in your journey. But have a look at who could do these tasks for you. Virtual assistant, maybe. Part-time assistant that actually works for you in an office or maybe quite locally to you. But if these are systemized, you know that you can send over exact steps that you want your VA or your part-time assistant to take, and you know that they are dealing with your business. They're giving the right message from your business to that guest. And a really good way of actually sharing that information with somebody who doesn't know as yet, they're new to your company, you want them to take steps and processes and follow the systems that you have in place, why not do an over-the-shoulder recording of a video showing you exactly what you do on screen? So as you collect a template, you can show them an overscreen of where you're collecting that template from. Here's the bank of questions. If you need to then send it on, just video yourself, sharing how to do that exact task. And once that's recorded inside a system, they can just refer to it at any stage, and that reduces the amount of time you're going to have to spend training. If that person then leaves at any stage, you simply share the system with a new person, and they are able to follow it. This is where the systems come in. So let's have a look again. Why should we systemize? I'll take a bit of water, excuse me. So we systemize to optimize. That's the name of this speech today. So you want to optimize the guest experience and your place on the listing sites. We systemize to minimize. We've minimized our time massively just from this one section of the business. And we've spent, instead of us starting off with 45 minutes at the beginning, we've now probably reduced our time down to about 10 to 15 minutes on that particular guest. Systemize to capitalize. You're capitalizing on the opportunity you have in this industry today. Spending time within your business, on your business, instead of the repetitive tasks. And already, just by going through this one system, this one process, and turning it into that recorded system, you're starting to move away from working in your business, and you're going to work on your business. So let's have another look at a second area where whether we realise it or not, we're using within our companies as holiday-let providers. And that's social media and digital marketing. We all market our properties, and a lot now are also using social media. So what do we want from this area? From social media, from marketing, we want visibility, we want to build authority, we want direct bookings with no commissions, and we want to build a brand. So that's what we're looking to achieve. And you're looking to get out on all of these different locations. And again, the scary slide, how are you going to get all this information out to all these different places? Are you going to individually post every single day to all of these locations so that you can get your information out there? Again, let's write down the process. Everything you do. So let's look at a blog post, for example. You create a blog post in Google Docs. You add it to a WordPress site. You might add images. You might create a Facebook post and share it on Facebook. You might create a post and share it on Google+. And you might create a series of tweets, for example. So again, that's how it looked at the beginning. Now we've got those steps written down. Now we can start to look at which bits can be delegated, which bits can be automated. So what about delegating blog post writing? What about getting someone who is maybe a young student from a local university to take on some blog post writing for you? That could be delegated. Adding it to the WordPress website, delegate, they can do that. And they just have to follow your system. Add images, same thing. And then it gets exciting again when the automation comes in. So once it goes onto Facebook, automate that. Once it goes onto Google+, automate that. And getting it onto the Twitter with all your tweets as well, automate that too. And you're removing yourself all the time out of your business. Again, we're at the stage now. We've written all those steps down. We then record it permanently and assign it to a member of staff. We create a template for blog post outlines, so you know every single blog post that is written by your delegate is going to be following the system that you want to follow. It's going to be your brand. It's going to be you talking, but they're going to put their words into it. Create a content calendar and block, write, and schedule posts. Again, time blocking is your friend. So we've talked about who we can actually delegate these tasks to. Outsource. Look at Fiverr, and I know a lot of people, if you've heard of Fiverr, a lot of people think that maybe people on Fiverr, because it is such a bargain, are not great. You can find incredible people on Fiverr. Outsource, leave freelancer. These are some great places that you can actually find stuff. And again, record yourself doing these tasks so that you can share the video with your delegate. And then what about another step further on when you're posting? What if we were to get that automation to actually create a domino effect? So instead of posting in one place, logging out back into Facebook, into Google+, into Twitter, Instagram, all these different places you want to be visible. What if it went like this instead? So the pre-scheduled blog post goes live, and then it auto-posts in a domino effect across Facebook, Twitter, Gravatar, WordPress, RSS, Google+. And that can go across in a complete domino, all the way through. And then what about thinking about auto-tweeting to a new follower? So as a new follower comes to find you on Twitter, how about you tweet them immediately, because again, we're back to our immediate response and how important that is. Immediate response with a text from you, thank you for following me, here's our latest offers. You've immediately shared that with them. So let's again look at why Systemize. We're always looking at why to do this. And we want to minimize our time. So again, we've removed more repetitive tasks. We systemize to centralize. So a central location for all the systems so that anybody within the business can refer to it. We systemize to commercialize because we are automating the social media, for example, to gain exposure. Again, you're starting to move away, you're starting to reduce the amount of time you've spent on the repetitive tasks that have to be done, and then you can start working on your business. Third area, and we're going to fly through this. Housekeeping. How vital is housekeeping within our business? It's the crux of the experience for the guests. As many people have talked about that we've already listened to today, the experience needs to be organised, it needs to be consistent, it needs to have a minimal amount of time actually spent on it. It needs to be on time, we need a happy team, and most importantly, we need happy guests. Again, the process, everything that you do. Booking comes through. Contact housekeeping, so you're recording exactly what it is that you do. Housekeeping order sheets. Housekeeping collect supplies, could be the next step. Housekeeping remove the linen, get it to the laundry. Housekeeping team clean and arrange the property. Exactly how you want it, by the way. They arrange it how you want it because we've got the system in place. This is the process. Then we look at systemizing it. So what about automating when the booking comes through? We automate the response, we automate the contact with housekeeping, we automate or delegate the sheets and the supplies, and then we auto-deliver a template with the timing so that housekeeping team take everything to the laundry and they also arrange your property exactly how you want it to be arranged. And we do this by delivering to them a complete template that they can follow. So again, look at why systemize. We systemize to standardize. And I think that's really key. So guests can expect the same great quality across properties or across each stay when they stay with you in one of your properties. And this, as an industry, is something that we really need to focus on. And this is how it starts, just documenting and improving. We systemize to minimize, again, your time spent in your business, your time explaining how you want things done, talking to your housekeepers, automate it, make sure they know what they're doing already and feeding back to you. We systemize to galvanize, and that's that housekeeping team. Make sure they've got the tools so that they can work alone. And that gives them confidence, it shows you have trust in them, and you get back exactly what you want. You're not constantly worrying that this housekeeper is not quite doing things exactly how you want them. You're not sure how the property looks. They already know, and they're feeding back to you. Again, you're starting to move away from working within your business, and you're working on your business. So we just looked at 3 systems today. Imagine the amount of time that we've actually reduced spending in our businesses just from those 3 different areas. And there's a myriad of other systems that do happen within your business. Again, whether you realize it's a system or not, you take that process every time you do that task. So why not record it? Why not write it down? Why not automate what you can? And why not reduce the amount of time spent doing those repetitive tasks? Imagine if you were to look at every single system within your business and you were to take that amount of time out. How much more efficient do you think you could be on a day-to-day basis? How much more of a better experience do you think the guests would have as they came to stay in your property? They'd never arrive to a broken light bulb. They'd never arrive to the blunt knives which have been following us around all day from Simon's speech. And they'd never arrive to a property which didn't look exactly how you wanted it to look and didn't represent you and your brand. The amount of time that you can actually save from systemizing is mind-boggling. So how do I get going? How do I get going with systemizing my business? At the beginning, it feels like, how am I going to do this? I do so much within my business on a day-to-day basis. But it's just a case of getting going. Have a pad with you for a week. Choose a task you spend most of your time doing and get started on that. Do what I talked you through. Write down the steps, how you specifically do that task. Analyze it. You've got all the steps written down. Is there a better way of actually doing this process? This is what I do now. What if I do it better? What if I delegate? What if I automate? Does this step need doing? Am I doing something that's just not required? Or is there something else I can be doing to provide a better experience for this guest? Is there something else I could be doing to support the housekeeping team? Can a template be used? So are we templating letters? Is there repetitive questions? Get those templated. Template anything that is done on a daily basis that you are going to be sharing with the staff member. Cleaning checklists, highly important. You know then that they are galvanized. They can get going. The housekeeping team know exactly what they're doing, and your property looks how you want it to look. Again, back to who can help me. Virtual assistant, part-time assistant, systemize my own day, because then your day itself becomes a system. You're time blocking exactly what it is that you're doing with your day. Systemize, automate, time block. So we've written everything down. We know what we're doing. Where are we actually going to record our system so that we can share it and people can refer to it? We can go really simple, go with Google Docs. It's cloud-based, shareable, it's free, it's very simple and straightforward, and you've got everything recorded, you can share. Trello, anybody heard of Trello? Yes, I love Trello, it's absolutely fantastic. It's cloud-based again, shareable, free, which I like, love free. You can collaborate. I've used it a lot of times for collaboration. I think it's such a great tool for that. I'm building a website for someone. They know exactly what steps I'm going to take. They get to share information within the Trello, and they can just send it to me. They can attach anything they want. They can attach a photo. They can attach a link to a website. They can attach colours, photographs, ideas, and we can do the same for our staff. And of course, we can attach videos, and we can attach our Google Docs as well. Asana, anyone use Asana? Yes, love Asana. I use Asana more than I use Trello. This is more what I use for the processes that I take within my business, whether it's the holiday let side, whether it's the podcast side. It's cloud-based. You can assign tasks, which makes a huge difference. There's a really good free version, and unless you're starting to expand like crazy, you can stick with the free version to start with. You can collaborate on it. There's an app. I love a good app. Again, you can attach photos and videos, and of course your Google Docs. So as people take the steps through the system, they're following it inside Asana, they get stuck on a task, no problem, they don't need to get in touch with you. You've attached a video showing them exactly what to do, or you've attached a Google Doc showing them what to do. Excuse me. So our aim at the beginning was to systemize to maximize. From this, does it look like you might have maximized? From systemizing, does it look like you might have started to maximize your time within your business? Yeah, we achieved that through getting into systems. So you've reduced the amount of time within your business, and now you're spending time on your business, freeing you up. Monetize. It frees us up to do the monetized side of things. So you're focusing, your main goal is to keep your property booked. It's to keep the guest experience incredible, and it's to make money. So this is where we monetize. You've freed yourself up to spend time on marketing, guest experience, and guest follow-up. So you're inviting people back who've already stayed before. You're doing your own marketing. And does it look like we might have minimized our time here? So we've minimized our time, we've minimized our costs because we've got people doing stuff for you, we've got housekeepers knowing exactly what they're going to do, they're not spending time on the phone with you, you're not having to respond to queries all the time. We've reduced our retraining, we've reduced our training time in the first place because it's all recorded, it's all videoed. And does it feel like we might have reduced overwhelm a little bit too? Yeah, and mental bandwidth. We want to free up that mental bandwidth because I know that at the beginning when I first got going, I'm constantly going through every single time I have a task to do within my business, I'm getting it all out of my memory. Have I remembered this? Have I remembered that? Have I missed anything? And that is always there until it's written down. And then you don't have to think about it anymore. It's out of your head, it's on paper, and it really does feel like a weight lifted. So as Michael Gerber, who I referred to earlier, writer of the E-Myth, said, this is his full quote, Organize around business functions, not people. Build systems within each business function. Let systems run the business and people run the systems. People come and go, but the systems remain constant. So I'll leave you with that quote, and I'll end with a couple of things. First of all, anyone that's in the room here, have you benefited from coming together over these few days and chatting to each other? I've created a Facebook group where you can continue this chat, so please do come and find me in that Facebook group. It's called the Holiday Let Success Podcast Community. Get on your phones now, hit join, I'll accept you. I'd love to carry on the conversation with you there and answer any questions. If I can be of any assistance, I would absolutely love to be. And the second thing, anybody here on Twitter? Do you tweet? Yes, tweeters. So, beginning of February, there was an initiative where there was a particular day, and I believe it was the 7th of February, where there was a hashtag created called #BookDirect. And this is for the industry to solidly come together to start to share give the option for people to actually book direct, because many people don't understand that they can book direct. They automatically go to the listing sites. And whilst we love the listing sites, we also want an element of independence for ourselves. And that's where the book direct hashtag came into place. So off the back of that, I've now created #BookDirectHour, where every Friday at 12 till 1 GMT, so UK time, using #BookDirectHour, that is now going to be a Twitter chat where individual owners can start to share their best offers and deals. So join me in that chat every single week. Tweet me, let me know, I'll retweet it, I'll get it shared, we'll get the word out that people can actually book direct. So who's going to go out of here and write down their first system? Great. Thank you, everybody.